Hello and welcome everyone. In this lecture, we are going to discuss about the unified CCX installation. And regarding the requirements, whenever you go for the installation of unified CCX, either in the production or lab, you should first install the unified CCX software on the first node or the publisher node first, and then proceed with the secondary node installation. Because whenever you do the installation of the secondary node, it will go and contact the publisher node to authenticate itself, and also it need to access the publisher database. So make sure to install the publisher node first and install the secondary node at any point of time after the installation of publisher node. And NTP and DNS configuration are mandatory for unified CCX installation. That means your NTP server, you can use the external NTP server, or you can use any on-premise NTP server, and your DNS server should be reachable. Make sure you configure the host records. It should be able to both do a forward and reverse lookup with the DNS server, because during the installation it will contact the DNS server and try to resolve its name and IP address. And always configure your UC servers with a static IP address so that you don't want the servers to get a different address during the reboot or during a maintenance window. And regarding the components, we would be using unified CCX 9.0.1 in our lab, and that is packaged with a Linux-based unified communication operating system or voice operating system. Till version CCX 7.0 or 7.x, Cisco was packaging the unified CCX in a Windows-based operating system. So we would be getting the installation file for the CCX, and we would be installing those files in a Windows-based operating system like Windows Server 2003. But from version 8.0, they packaged a CCX application with a Linux-based operating system. And it is an appliance model which is developed by Cisco. There are multiple advantages of using the unified operating system because it's more secure and robust. It will make the installation and patching of server simpler compared to the Windows-based appliance. And we would be using Cisco Unified Communication Manager 9.1.2, and which is compatible with CCX version 9.0.1. And I have the Unified Communication Server already installed in my lab, so we would be using those servers for our discussion. And hardware for both UCCX and CUCM should be installed on an approved MCS server, or if you're installing in a VM-based environment, you can look for UCSB servers or C servers. And these servers can also be installed on SPIX-based third-party servers, which is being supported by both Cisco and VMware. And regarding the software components, we will be installing this CCX in ESXi 5.1 version, which is a ESXi white box in my lab. And we would be using the OVA templates for sizing the virtual machines. So what is OVA? Before take a look at the OVA, we have two different open virtualization format. One is open virtualization format, which is an open standard virtualization format which contains .vmx and .vmdk files, which is widely being used in the industry. And it is not just for VMware, it is also supported by other virtualization vendors. Whereas OVA is an open virtualization archive. It's an archive or zip or tarball of the OVF file, which contains actual VMX file and VMDK files. With the case of Cisco, they are providing the OVA templates. Those OVA templates contains those VMX and VMDK files, but the VMDK file, the virtual hard disk, does not contain any data on it. Rather, it only provides the geometry of the disk, right? Because if you think about the UC applications, and if you provide the installation files in a OVA file, it would be pretty large. Maybe it will be around maybe 6 to 7 GB. So what they are doing is They're just providing the OVA, which only provides the configuration information about the virtual machine. It doesn't include any data on the virtual hard disk. Instead, you have to still download the ISO image from the cisco.com and mount that over to the virtual machine so that you would be able to do the installation. So here are the installation steps that we will be following in the next lecture to install the unified CCX. First, we will be downloading the OVA files from cisco.com. There would be two different versions of OVA files. One is VMware version 7 and another one is VMware version 8, where the version 7 is for ESXi 4 and 4.x versions, and version 8 is for 5.x based ESXi host. And make sure you have the ISO images ready. If you're doing the installation on a VMware, please mount the ISO or upload the ISO to a data store, or you can write to the disk and you can do the installation via the local DVD. And if you're doing it for the production, please make sure you get the bootable ISO from Cisco. Or if you're doing it for a lab and you don't have the native bootable format of the installation file, you can still download the ISO image, the upgrade packages from Cisco, and you can make it bootable. But it is not recommended for production, but if it is for lab, you can still go for that. There are a lot of resources out in the internet you can see, and you can make your upgrade files into a bootable image. And then we would be deploying the OVA templates in the ESXi host. And I'll walk you through the different results we would see during the OVA template deployment. And in this particular lab, we would be generating the answer file to make the installation unattended. At this point, as you all know, that the installation of UCCX is going to be simple with the Linux-based operating system, but still we would be generating the answer file so that we don't have to sit in front of the machine and walk them through the multiple wizards. Instead, we will generate these answer files and place those answer files in a virtual floppy disk drive. So during the installation, it can pull up the XML file which would be present in the virtual hard disk, and it can completely go for the unattended installation. And we would be creating the DNS host records in the DNS server. And once we're done with those steps, we will power on the virtual machine. We'll mount the floppy disk so that it can pull the XML file for the installation. With that said, I'll see you in next section. Thanks much for watching.